Alright, here we go. The reason I'm doing this one particular video is it's not actually a tarot show video, but it's going back over how a tarot reading is done. Okay, so the actual basically methodology. I've covered these a few times before, but I don't think I've necessarily gone into like sufficient detail. So that's basically what this one is about. Same tarot deck that I traditionally use when I'm working over the internet and telephone on keen.com/Nick Dutch with a capital N and a capital D, okay? As well as on liveperson.com/Nick Dutch without the capital N and without the capital D, just all one word lowercase. Right, now, let's start from the top. Let's say I've just received an inquiry from someone, let's say it's a lady who's inquiring about her relationship. Well, after I've asked her for a first name and a date of birth and to give me a question, because the purpose of the question that she's asking about the relationship is it gives me just that extra, structure to what I'm looking for. If a person doesn't ask a question, then it's very difficult because like you could have like 1,000 pieces of information there and like they may be after that one piece of information, but essentially I've got all that stuff out there, so it would be difficult for me to select the right one. That's why a question is essential. So let's say I ask, what is the question please? And the client then responds. It's a question of basically, will I get my relationship back on track? I can go, okay, I know what to do. Standard 8 card relationship reading. Now I've already shuffled this tarot pack very, very, very thoroughly. And I'm going to show you basically what I do all over again. This is the same standard methodology, 8 card relationship reading. Those two there will represent the inquirer. Okay? And there'll be a combination of messages associated with that, taking into account what goes on inside my mind. Now, the cards themselves are only part of the reading. Now, on this side of things, this is their relationship partner. If what they were actually asking about was maybe a third person or a fourth person, this spread will not necessarily go into it. Okay, I say not necessarily quite advisedly because it depends upon the ideas that flow through my mind. I can be carrying on one track of thought, explaining myself as I go, and then bam, like a little idea will pop into my head, and that will change basically what the message of the reading is. So you got the inquirer, you've got the person the inquirer is asking about there. This particular spread can be used for social interaction as well. And this one here is what I call the forces between the two of them, which defines the nature of the relationship. Okay, you can say all kinds of things about it, but it's usually the nature of the relationship. And in this particular case, we've got stave signs. Staves can be communication, so can swords at times. But in this particular case, it's a power over situation with a sense of, owning a land area, ownership, power over. These symbols in this particular case refer to the stave or the mitre, something which is expressing power over, dominion, and control. Alright, the colours, as we can already see, there's plenty of red there. That can come over as being angry, that can come over as being something rather difficult. But on the other hand, there is essentially that communication aspect. So it seems to me as if these two people are fighting, okay? They both have a sense of wanting to have a certain level of power and influence over something. But the question is, what on earth is that, okay? Because the reading is not saying it. So they're at loggerheads. When you got two people at loggerheads, it's because they're both fighting over maybe status or, their position within certain subjects. Typically, one person will exceed in one thing, one person will exceed in the other thing, and when there's a conflict there, that can cause all kinds of frustrations because basically in many different ways, all of us inside are, little children. We all want to have our things which are, belong to us, and that includes ideas. Now, on the partner side of things, good responsibility, but turned in on itself. Okay, the Lovers card speaks about responsibility. It can speak about romantic love as well, but it also speaks about that time in a person's life when they've actually got responsibilities to do things. So in this particular case, it's not the inquirer, but it's the inquirer's partner who's coming out more clear-minded and with a desire to do some healing and to do some forgiving. The rainbow sign, obviously biblical, talks about that moment of forgiveness. It's all past, something bad or dangerous or, an argument's happened, but there's a desire to forgive. But also the partner is very analytical. The prismic signs speak about breaking down into lots of little different fractions, trying to break down an argument. So these are very good signs on the partner side of things. So essentially what I'd be doing there is looking at the client and working out whether the client is thinking in a manner which is actually beneficial to the relationship, full stop. In this particular case, the client is very empathic, all right? Very empathic and very sensitive. I feel this is someone who wears their heart on their sleeve. So I will be working with the client to work out what things they're being too sensitive about. Taking into account the forces between the two of them, I know there's a territorial battle going on. So I would say that they're taking some things, the wrong way. And although there's communication, that is not an even flow of communication. So it's not a question of sitting down, taking things objectively, although the partner's willing to try. Okay, the client's not seeing things clearly, so I have to work with the client to address them and choose my words carefully. A tarot reading call, a live call, can be just like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, okay? So it doesn't really matter what I charge because it's such a short call, okay? And in this particular case, I will have to choose my words very carefully to give the client that level of perspective that they would need to run the relationship. Obviously, this is just a random spread, okay? This is just not about one particular person or about any person. This is just the way that it could come through. I then do short-term, mid-term, and long-term future, okay? Short-term, mid-term, then we go long-term future. And in this particular spread, okay, we got some very good signs of there being happiness, but the phrase, one of the many phrases I often like using on my tarot calls, of organic progression, okay, slow and steady organic progression, is basically what's coming through very apparently in this reading. We've got the red colours, which were mentioned here, which were a disagreement carrying on for anything up to 6 months. So I have to, give the client some perspective and help them to manage the idea that they're not necessarily, there is a solution. Okay, we got happiness, we got a feeling of some conviviality, mutual agreement. It's looking good in the long term, but you got to manage expectations in the short term. And so that's one thing the client is struggling with in this reading about a fictional person. And within those 1, 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is I've got with the client, I've got to say the right things to give that perspective. Okay, that's why my work is so high pressured, because I've got to use my words correctly, okay, in sometimes a very short space of time, okay, which I do and I'm very good at. Obviously, I've been on Keen.com now for 6 years, over 6 years now actually. I've been doing this work on and off since I was a child, so basically, I've got the experience, I've got the knowledge, I know how to do this. And of course, all of my broad work experiences show me basically how to use language better. Obviously, I've been in recruitment, I've been in sales, I've run my own business before. So all of this stuff has basically shown me that language, communication, and the way you do it is really key. So as a result of that, I am very good at what I do. But you can see from this spread the kind of problems a person could have, problems of perception, cognition, understanding. Which I will then be able to help them with, okay? This is why a tarot reader is one of the best amateur therapists in the world. Okay, we sell this service as an entertainment service. It's on all the websites, on all the phone lines out there. This is an entertainment service, recording for entertainment purposes and all the rest of that, okay? But we are amateur therapists, and in my opinion, we're very, very good therapists, because we have all the most serious problems in the world which come down the line at us. And we have to work at them, work with them one by one to get the results that we're after. That's why I'm so proud to be doing this work, because I'm one of the best. All right, I'm good, because it's not just a question of being someone who has these strange psychic experiences that they have to then try and work with or try and live with. It's a question of every other form of skill that they have to try and put together, and taking every drop of your life experience, the good, the bad, the indifferent, okay, and putting it together to try and help your client get out of a pit. There's one good way, it's a great way of getting out of a hole, and that is to be speaking to someone who may have been there before, okay? That's why I look at the bad things in my experiences and I use those and see how I got through those things to try and give and direct people properly and appropriately. So I can empathize here with the relationship partner, I can empathize with the quality and type of relationship connection, and I can empathize with the client, because basically I've been through those situations before, if you get my drift. And also my relationship history, which has been nicely complex, has also shown me an awful lot of things about the way that people work. So this is why I'm good, this is why this service is good, this is why I love being a tarot reader. Alright, if you're interested in getting a reading from me, there are links down there in the information section of this one particular video, which will take you to various pages where you can buy things from me, where you can connect with me via the internet, the telephone, via email, and get your readings that way.